it does remind me of some other trolling that I did at work, which was there's this YouTube video that's all of Michael Jackson's grunts.
Oh yeah.
All that. Just
He told me
cut
about this.
cut from all of his songs
Yeah.
and just made into a track that's just, if you've never heard it before, it starts out as unsettling and then it
It ramps up, dude.
it ramps up to freaky and then it becomes disturbingly sexual and then it just becomes like some serial killer noises. It's a whole journey. But anyway, I had a Bluetooth speaker that I would leave in the bathroom. and when somebody went to the bathroom, I would play that video over the Bluetooth speaker, just the audio, and start it from 0 volume and just gradually ramp up the volume.
What's the website where like ex-employees leave reviews of what it was like to work?
Glassdoor?
The number of Glassdoor reviews of that business that you used to work at, where it's just like, let me tell you the story about my manager at X, Y, and Z place.
Man,
dude.
Yeah, no, the bathroom just happened to be a very convenient place for pranks because it was like predictable. Like, I could predict people's actions.
God, do you think you can get away with that now?
I don't know, but I would put, just to change things up, I would put it out on the in the store. Like if there was no customers around.
Yeah.
And I would do the same thing. I would just take that Michael Jackson video and play it slow at low volume,
right? And, just
and pretend
like
up. and to gaslight them and be like, I don't hear anything. What are you talking? I don't think I hear anything. Like where's it coming from? What do you hear?
You would never put it. Would you ever put it in the women's restroom?
Yeah.
You could not get away with that now. You couldn't.
Probably not.
You couldn't.
I don't think so.
That's a prank you could only get away with 10 years ago.
To be fair, the only time I ever did that was with somebody
funny.
who I had known for like almost a decade, and I was
sure.
really good friends with.
For sure. But that's a ballsy move nowadays.
Yeah, I would definitely have.
That's such a ballsy move.
Gotten fired for that.
I love it, dude.
Because out of context, you could totally spin that into an HR nightmare.
For sure. That sounds like an Office episode. You're basically Dwight Schrute. Or maybe you're actually Jim. You're kind of a combination of the two.
So I like to put my own stapler in Jell-O.
You're more of a Jim, actually. You have a Dwight vibe, but you're a prankster like Jim.
I like to think that I have the best qualities of both.
Yeah. You're their love child, dude. You're like in some fanfic when they fell in love.
Great. That's my claim to fame.
That's your legacy, dude.
I am Dwight and Jim's love child.
That's a pretty high compliment, dude.
I'll take it.
The two most beloved characters of the series, for sure.
So at the same job, there was an issue at one of the locations I worked at where the thermostat was like remote controlled.
Yeah.
And in the summer, it was never like cooling the place down enough.
Okay.
So I would take, and it's just a regular thermostat on the wall,
like a retail place,
and it was just uncomfortably hot. So I would take a cigarette lighter, and put it like 6-8 inches underneath the thermostat sensor. Because it's just like, classic plastic square, says it's trying to cool to 72 degrees, but it's actually, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Whatever. And light the lighter and let the hot air from the flame go up into the thermostat.
So it's
and just warm up the sensor and trip it into cooling more.
Yeah.
And it was very effective. And I showed this to a coworker, and 8 months, a year later, at some point, they call me and they go, "Yo, that trick that you showed me with the thermostat, I was doing that and I lit the thermostat on fire." Because they used a torch lighter.
Oh no.
Which if you have a regular cigarette lighter like a Bic, it's like a candle flame. It's very simple. It's a rising stream of hot air, and it'll kind of diffuse into because the thermostat is fairly open. It's got a lot of openings to let air through.
Right.
So you just let that stream of hot air diffuse in through the thermostat.
Right.
A torch lighter is not the same dynamic. So he actually managed to light the thermostat on fire. And then because it had to get replaced, the new one actually worked.
Nice. So it was serendipitous.
It was task
Quite nice.
Failed successfully.
He failed up, dude.
Yeah.
He failed up for everyone. That is
I still don't understand how he managed to not get in trouble for that. I didn't know.
That's crazy.
It doesn't seem like he had any kind of repercussions.
What?
I think he was just like able to get away with saying like it shorted out or something.
This just confirms one of my factual truths of life. When I was like growing up, and I realized like if you meet a dude and he's just got like regular Bic lighter, totally chill. If he's got a torch lighter, he's gonna cause problems. 100%.
I think
anyone who carries a torch lighter, red flag, dude.
I think
instant red flag.
He might have been going through a cigar phase at the time.
Yeah, also a red flag.
Not a glass pipe that you apply.
Sure.
That's the. I don't know. That too. I think that's probably what gets associated with torch lighters. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was quite hilarious to.
That's very funny.
Another old work story.
Yeah,
I had been the manager of this location, and because I had another side hustle going on, I stepped down to assistant manager position.
Yeah,
or actually not even that, something lower. And I went there. I was driving past on my day off because I was doing my other job. I happened to be driving past, and I stopped in and I was just like chatting with people, getting a drink, whatever. And then I noticed this one area where there was a bunch of dust, and one of the shelves was like moved out from the wall, and I was like, that's weird. And I was looking at it, and I was like looking at the shelf, and I was like, there's sunlight on coming through onto this shelf, which didn't make any sense. So I went outside and I looked at the building, and there was this giant, like, not a hole, but there was this giant Hulk smash mark on the building where some car had crashed into the building.
Oh, wow.
I think it was a police car, actually. Like,
what?
there had been, there was like the police were chasing somebody or something, and either the person they were chasing or one of the police cars itself crashed into the building. And they did next to nothing to try to, contact the business. So it was me going out there. I saw that, and then I walked in laughing. I was laughing really, really hard because it wasn't my problem.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, this isn't
I was
me.
just like so excited to be like, hey, manager, come here. You got to see this. This is going to blow your mind.
Wait, was the cop car there? Like you saw?
No, it had happened like days ago.
How did you know it was a cop car?
From following up, like, cause I was like, hey, you got to, report this to corporate and get your building fixed.
Yeah.
And eventually they were like, yeah, apparently it was, the police knew about it, but they couldn't find a way to notify us.
Yeah. So they just dropped it.
I mean, like, you could always leave a note, like a literal note.
Jeez, dude.
I don't know. But yeah, they fixed it up, and I just thought it was funny as hell that a car had crashed into this building, and for at least probably 2 or 3 days, people were going in and out, driving past, not noticing it, not having any idea. And
so was the shelf moved out because of the crash?
Yes, like the crash had pushed through the wall, pushed the shelf out of its normal spot,
shoved it out.
Yeah,
and there was some light bleeding through.
There was just like this little dazzle of sunlight bleeding through, and I was like, that shouldn't be there.
That's so wild that you couldn't tell from the inside that it was that
If you
that,
weren't,
that's what was the
if
case.
you were just like doing like autopiloting and just like straightening things on a shelf and not really going, hey, this shelf is slightly like
Protruding.
it's an inch further forward than it used to be, and there's a
Yeah.
bunch of dust on the ground.
Yeah.
Like I guess you wouldn't notice, but I just was wandering around and I saw that and I was like, this is weird.
That was very astute of you to be like, I'm going to go outside and see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then actually discover that.
Which is funny because working there, that particular location, there's always something weird. Like multiple times, like I had to take people like I went out to take some trash to the dumpster and there's people just in there smoking meth. And I was like, guys, would you please not
Stop.
smoke your meth in my dumpster?
Just randos, not employees, just random
like
people.
regular, like there was sort of a crowd of
junkies.
regular unhoused people that I would see around there.
Yeah, right. You have to just shoo them away.
There was it was a busy intersection, so there's always somebody on the island
Yeah.
panhandling,
Oh, okay.
and they would like take shifts. They would like
Two people panhandling, they would take shifts.
multiple people,
Multiple
and then
people.
sometimes people would like fight over it
Oh,
because
wow.
it was busy, so like you could make some
It
money.
was a hot spot
It
for
was.
the homeless.
Yes.
They're like, no, this is my turf, and they
And-
would trade off and get in
Yeah.
fights. Like, no, I got here first.
Yep, and it was so there was a lot of stuff going on around the place.
Yeah.
And when I was there, was constantly like, what's going on? Like not just inside but outside.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Like there were abandoned cars in the parking lot. Like, dude, this one morning I show up to work, there's a Maserati in the parking lot.
Uh huh.
Crashed Maserati.
Crashed.
Like
totaled?
somebody had like curbed it real good.
Okay.
And the one of the front wheels and tires was busted.
Yeah.
The windows were cracked. It smelled like a dozen blunts had been smoked in there,
Nice.
and it was just there.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
Right in front of your business.
Yeah, in the parking lot, and then eventually I gave it.
Are
I
you
think
sure that
a
wasn't
day
the
or
car
two.
that like crashed into the wall?
Nah, different time. Eventually, somebody came and got it and took it away to get repaired. There was another time there was a car just parked out there for like 2 months, and eventually, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna report this as abandoned.
Yeah.
And had printed out notices and put them all over the car, and then eventually it disappeared. And I don't know what happened. It was a very surprisingly dynamic and interesting location to work at because there were so many distracting things that weren't just boring work. It was just like, there's people here to test the water. The groundwater here is contaminated because this place used to be a gas station.
Yeah.
And so they have to regularly test the groundwater to make sure that really expensive groundwater decontamination operation doesn't have to be run. And just, just random stuff like that. So cars crashing into it, people doing all kinds of shenanigans all around the building. Shutting down the sprinklers because they would sleep there at night.
Wait,
So-
who would shut down the sprinklers?
Like homeless people who were just sleeping outdoors.
Yeah.
There was a control box for the sprinklers that was like underground.
Yeah.
It's like one of those little things where you kind of grab it with a hook and pull it up and you can get in there and somehow that wasn't the actual control box. The control box was electrical, but it was a box with valves in it.
Okay.
And they just closed all the valves for all the sprinklers so they could sleep all night, sleep in, and they wouldn't get sprinklered on.
Right.
And
That's smart.
And I didn't realize it until I was like, the landscape is all just dead
Fucked
and
up.
dying. Like, have somebody look at it and they're like, oh yeah, the sprinkler valves are all turned off. And
You
then-
had a bunch of homeless just like sleeping in your yard.
yeah, and then people would like sleep in front of the fire exit.
Wow.
So I like one of the things that I would do when I was like kind of doing the rounds essentially was just check to see if there's someone in front of the fire exit. If there was,
Yeah.
I would just open the door like
hit them.
not like hit them, but I would just open the door
Nudge.
until it bumped into them,
Yeah,
and then
give
just
'em a
give
nudge.
them a shove,
Nice
like a little
nudge.
shove,
They
and just be
sleep
like,
in,
hey,
probably.
this is the fire exit. You can't be here.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency,
Yeah.
you're gonna get the door slammed into you, and people are gonna be falling over you. So
Right.
scoot.
Yeah.
Um,
Where they would come quietly. They'd be like, all right.
yeah, usually they
don't wanna
move
put up a fight.
move along.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never really had any serious issues with like threats or violence at that location.
Right.
There was another location that I worked at where this lady, I have to say, like an out of towner. I can't think of another word for that. Okay, because
Not from around these parts.
yeah, because a homeless guy was outside of Subway
Okay.
and said something to her
Checks out so far.
very nasty,
Okay.
and she was offended by that, and
Yeah.
so she started filming him.
Okay.
Like, got up in his face with her phone,
Karen style. I like it.
which you don't do that. You don't
To a homeless person. Who knows?
to somebody who's probably possibly mentally ill or just
Yeah, what's going to come of that? They don't even have a job.
nothing good is going to come.
You're not going
of
to
that.
get them canceled. They're
So-
already rock bottom.
Then
dude.
he spit at her,
Oh God.
and then somebody from the Subway decided to come to her rescue,
Okay.
and they chased the homeless guy into
Chased
my
him?
store.
He ran into your store
Yes.
to for safety.
Well,
to seek refuge.
I don't know what they were trying to achieve by like he was leaving. He was running away. What are they going to get by pursuing him
Exactly.
and then cornering him?
Yeah.
And so then he's like stressing out. He's like freaking out. He's like, I got a weapon, and
Which he didn't have a weapon,
well, you don't know.
but he didn't have anything on him. Like
He didn't
visibly.
I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean he didn't have anything.
He's talking about his dick.
And
I'll pull it
for
out.
some reason, these people were like, they were just like, we had to chase him down to really tell him you can't talk to somebody that way. And meanwhile, he's
Silly.
he's freaking out, making threats because he's like cornered.
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone with
Cops.
the police dispatcher
Yeah.
because I should have called 911, but I called the police dispatch directly.
Okay.
And fortunately managed to just get everybody out of there safely.
Yeah.
An hour and a half later, I called the police dispatcher back and I was like, yeah, that situation is resolved. You don't have to send anybody. They're like, oh, okay, thanks.
They didn't do shit.
They didn't do anything.
Probably because they get 30 of those calls a day, at least.
If I had called 911 and I was like, this guy is saying he has a weapon and he's
Right.
being erratic and
True.
threatening, then
True.
I probably would have gotten a response.
True. Police
But-
dispatcher is like,
But if I had done that, then there would have been a higher likelihood of like actual violence happening, right?
like if the cop showed up,
Yeah.
if the guy actually did have a weapon, and
If
was,
the
like,
guy
intended to use-
actually got violent, I was just gonna hit him with the fire extinguisher,
yeah,
not hit him with a fire extinguisher,
blast him.
blast him,
Yeah. It's a good deterrent.
and then run out the back, run out the back door.
Yeah. Fight and flight.
Yeah. But fortunately, nothing bad came of that. But
Man,
it
dude.
was tense.
Man, homeless are pretty interesting. Because you never know what you're gonna get. I guess that's like anyone, but like some of them are chill, some of them are scary, some of them you want to avoid, and others are like just like unlucky,
Yeah.
and they're just totally chill people.
Totally. I've met him before, and
I told you like the time that I like did acid with or I gave acid to a homeless guy. I might have told you that.
Was that you?
Yeah,
That
So,
was you.
This was like
I
probably.
thought that was like a Joe Rogan story or something.
No, this was in college, and I.
Oh yeah, was it on a bus?
No, it wasn't on a bus, but I had.
Okay, because that's literally. You're not the only one.
Okay, there's probably multiple.
It's not. I guess it's not that
Multiple
unusual in
accounts.
an interaction.
Yeah, so I was probably 20, 21 maybe, and I was just home alone, and I just had a couple beers, 2 or 3 beers, And for some reason, I went out to get gas to fill up my tank. I don't know where I was headed. I don't think I was headed anywhere. I just went to get gas. Maybe I wanted to get another beer at the liquor store that was attached to the gas station. And I pull up in my car. I'm filling up the tank. And there's a guy who's kind of, homely, He looks like he could be homeless, but you're not sure. Kind of that in between. And he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you got any like money or, weed or anything?" And I think just the 2 or 3 beers that I had for whatever reason, and also being a dumb 20-year-old, I was like, "You want some acid?" I have acid, like, in my car. And I did. I had like half a sheet of acid in my car. And this guy's like, his eyes they widen like an owl. And he's like, "Dude, I've been looking for acid for 3 years. I haven't found good acid for like 2 or 3 years, dude." And I'm like, "Oh, this shit'll rock your mind, dude. Come on, dude." And I have no idea who this guy is. And before you know it, he's in my car. we were talking and just shooting the shit at the gas station for so long, where I was like, "Dude, I think we should probably like go in the other parking lot, because we've been here for an hour." We've just been at the gas station.
And you never even learned his name.
Never. I think I eventually learned it, but I was like, "There's a Ralph's right there." It's like 2 a.m. Let's just go to the Ralph's parking lot right there, so we don't look sus. Which looked equally sus. We're the only car in a Ralph's parking lot at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And so whatever. I give him like 2 tabs. He takes them, and we're just talking. And eventually, it starts to kick in, and he's just like having the time of his life. He's enjoying it, which is great.
You made his day.
I made his day. I made his year, probably. He was so stoked, and I was very stoked because at the time I was so proud of like my car's like speaker system. Like the sound system was so good.
You're just
I was
rocking
like, "Dude,
it.
check this out." Like I was like the TripAdvisor, right?
And the DJ.
I loved being the TripAdvisor for this guy who was looking for acid for 3 years. I gave him the night of his life, and I was like playing all this music, and we are hanging out together till the sun comes up. It's
Wow.
6, 7 in the morning. Everyone's going to work at this point. And I'm like, "So what can I do for you, dude? Do you want to ride home? Where do you want me to give you a ride somewhere?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just I've got an RV that's like parked right down the street." I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "You want to check it out?" I'm like, "Sure." At this point, why not?
Yeah.
So
It's only fair.
I follow him to his RV, and it's like it's super rickety and kind of
run down.
beat up, kind of run down. And you go in there, it's like super, just like, you can tell this guy's just been living out of this thing for years. But it was cute, He was just like, "Oh yeah, this is like where I keep all my records and stuff and whatever." And I remember we like kept in contact. Like I was like, "What are you doing later today?" And he was like,
you got his number.
Like we had been bonding. We had bonded for the whole night, for like 8 hours.
That's kind of beautiful.
It was really cool. And he was such a nice guy. Like obviously he had a bad hand dealt to him, and he had been through some rough times, but he was a sweet guy.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just me being younger too, like not as jaded by life, like I was just a bit more accepting and tolerant.
I think you were more open-minded, and I think
Definitely.
people tend to become more closed-minded as they age.
Yes. So when you're younger, you're a bit less judgmental.
And you're less able to judge situations,
whether someone's going to kill you or not.
Yeah.
So at any rate,
you were very lucky.
I was like, "What are you doing later?" He's like, "Oh, I got nothing planned." Shocker. And so I was like, "Well, I'm going to get some sleep. Maybe I'll hit you up afterwards, and we'll hang out." So I got some sleep back at home, and then I picked him up, and I brought him to Walnut. And I hung out with him. I introduced him to the Walnut crew. This guy is like 45.
Yeah.
And Walnut, they're all like 2 years younger than me. I'm 20. They're 18.
Yeah.
And like they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" They were all so shook that I brought this homeless guy with me. I mean, it is insane when you look at it. It's
But,
hilarious.
but it somehow does fit with the whole Walnut vibe of just like anything can kind of happen.
100%. I was like, I thought this is where the weird, this is where we accept the weirdness, like where we
Yeah.
let our freak flags fly. Now suddenly you're gonna turn this guy out. But they were just like, what the fuck? What's happening right now? They were so confused. Understandably, they're 18. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, maybe this is just more of like a him and I just chill one-on-one. So I eventually brought him back to my city, and we just chilled for a little bit longer. But it was such a interesting experience. Very cool, very memorable experience. Such a nice guy.
That's a good story, man.
I
That's a
hope
very
he's
good story.
I hope he's doing well if he's out there.